the strongest sorcerer in the modern era, Satoru Gojo, versus the conqueror of the universe, Boros. These two are both extremely powerful characters in their respective verses, and today me and Satori are going to be analyzing who would win between the two. If you haven't already, go check out Satori. He makes really good One Punch Man and Naruto content, and subscribe to me too. It really helps me out, and it only takes a couple seconds to do so. With that being said, let's get to the video. Starting off with Gojo and his abilities, Gojo is one of the rare people to wield the 6 eyes and the Limitless powers at the same time. The Limitless giving him some very overpowered techniques like the neutral Limitless, otherwise known as the Infinity. The Infinity allows for Gojo to not be touched, as there is an infinite amount of space between him and whatever is trying to reach him. It's described as like the Achilles and the Tortoise paradox. I'll give a quick rundown of what the Achilles and the Tortoise paradox is. So let me explain that. Achilles and a tortoise has a race, to which Achilles gives the tortoise a head start. Achilles will have to run to the tortoise's starting point, but the tortoise will have already moved ahead. So Achilles runs to the tortoise's new location, and the tortoise will have already moved ahead again. And then the same thing repeats itself over and over, allowing for Achilles to never reach the tortoise. Gege says that the repeating addition of numbers gives birth to a fictitious 0 and an unknown derived from the dividing 0. That's why it's called the Limitless, allowing for anything near Gojo to slow down the closer they get and never reach him. Gojo can distinct almost anything that tries to get past the Infinity, like objects, poison, sound, speed, mass, and he can even keep it on automatically at all times due to the 6 eyes making his cursed energy use almost 0. Gojo has the blue as well as the reversal of the technique, the red. Gojo can use the blue to amp his speed if he wants, and he can use it to destroy a large range of area around him. He can also move the point of gravity of the blue like we see him use against Toji. The red is the reversal of the blue, which creates a very powerful red orb that is very destructive and repels everything. Gojo then collides both the infinities, making the purple. The purple is an imaginary mass that destroys everything in its path down to an atomic level. Some say that it can destroy anything no matter what, but we do see Sukuna block it with his hands. Arame was also standing directly behind him, and as far as we know, she didn't get hit with the purple, so most likely Sukuna did just tank it with his hands. Gojo has the 6 eyes, which refreshes his brain at all times. His brain runs so fast that a minute inside Gojo's brain is described as an instant in the real world. The 6 eyes allows for Gojo to never get fatigued or tired, and gives him very good perception, and he can even see people's souls. He also has reverse curse technique that he can use to heal his limbs, body, and even parts of his brain. Although say if Boros did somehow chop his head completely off, Gojo would die. The main ability Gojo has though is his domain expansion, Infinite Void or Unlimited Void. This allows for Gojo to trap the user in a barrier where they get bombarded with an infinite amount of information. In the manga, it's described as being able to see and feel everything, but not being able to move or do anything about it. 0.2 seconds inside Gojo's domain is said to be about a half a year worth of information being dumped into your head. And while you're in the domain, you can't move at all due to the amount of sheer information hitting you at once. Although Gojo is very haxed, Gojo isn't really fast compared to Boros. Gojo would be faster than lightning if you want to upscale him from Kashimo's lightning ability, or if you're being generous, you could say he's faster than light due to upscaling him from the black hole that Yuki made. And no, I don't see him having inaccessible speed because of the prison realm. Due to the prison realm letting people move and talk inside of it, as Kenjaku says that the person inside could off themselves. I think the light speed thing is a decent highball, and him being faster than lightning is probably more consistent, considering someone as fast as Maki is only reaching around Mach 3. With that being said, I'll let Satori explain Boros.
Now, for Boros scaling, I don't think it will be controversial to say that he is definitely a lot more physically impressive than Gojo is. Starting with speed, Boros, even in his armored form, should scale above all of his generals, including Gyuryu, who is stated to have sub-light speed attacks. In his released form, Boros goes on to keep up with and even outspeed Saitama when he's more serious than back when he casually reacted to said sub-light speed attacks from Gyuryu. Not to say Boros is faster than Saitama, of course not, but he is keeping up with a less casual Saitama than the one who could react to sub-light speed. This Boros should also upscale from characters like Flashy Flash and Platinum S, who both have above light speed showings. Meteoric Burst would then give a massive speed amp on top of that as well. Using some calcs, it's even possible to get Boros to thousands of times faster than light, but that's a bit overkill. For attack potency and durability, Boros pretty comfortably upscales from characters like Orochi and Sage Centipede, who both have small planet level calcs. He is also stated to be able to blast away entire planets planets and possibly even stars with the collapsing star Orin cannon in the One Punch Man compass. Now, if you want to go with the lower end interpretation of Boros only being planet surface level, that honestly doesn't really change anything, as even that level of power is still insanely above anything Gojo has shown physically, and I would argue planet-level Boros is a lot more consistent than planet-surface-level Boros in context with the rest of the series anyway. An argument could be made that Boros only scales to these levels with the collapsing star Orin cannon, but like I already said, several characters who should be weaker than Boros physically already scale to small planetary. Honestly though, I don't think this exact scaling matters all that much here, as he just blatantly has a massive stats advantage anyways, regardless of whether you lowball or highball him. Boros' abilities include wide-scale energy attacks, immensely potent regeneration, flight, and the ability to sense his opponent's energy to some extent, as he noted when he first laid eyes on Saitama. Now, for Boros' win cons, it is worth noting that in many fictional verses, if a character is strong enough, they can negate Hack's abilities, so it is possible that Boros' overwhelming power advantage may allow him to simply punch through infinity, as we've never really seen anyone massively more powerful than Gojo in Jujutsu Kaisen. However, that is slightly headcanon. If Boros cannot do that, then his other win conditions would include throwing Gojo into space, as he tends to do in tough fights, because even if he can't physically touch Gojo, he should still be able to just grab a chunk of earth below his feet and chuck it into space with him. We've seen Boros kick Saitama to the moon, so Gojo being launched hundreds of thousands of kilometers into space probably wouldn't survive. Another win condition for Boros is simply to blow up the planet. He himself can most likely survive in space, given that he did already want to destroy the earthen cannon, so he would likely have some way to survive after such an event. If you don't think Boros is strong enough to do something like that, then the first and especially second win conditions still stand. Now let's talk about some ways Boros may be able to interact with Gojo's powers. One thing that will be relevant in this matchup is his resistance to attacks that work on an atomic level. In One Punch Man, there is a character called Atomic Samurai, who, as the name implies, can cut on an atomic level. The same Atomic Samurai was unable to cut through the core of the robot G5, and an amped atomic couldn't fully cut through Golden S when he attacked him for the first time, showing that characters in One Punch Man do have the capability to tank attacks on an atomic level. And Boros obviously scales far above the likes of G5 and Golden S in durability. The second ability Boros will have to worry about here is domain expansion, and Prodigy is going to handle most of that, but one thing I will say is that Boros definitely will not try to dodge a domain closing in on him. He is the type to want to see what his opponent can do, so if the fight goes on long enough for Gojo to decide to use domain expansion, it will hit. And I will let Prodigy explain how that could possibly go.
If the domain expansion does hit Boros, he wouldn't be able to move at all due to the information overloading him. He can't just flex out of it or anything, so it comes down to, does the information destroy his brain mentally or physically? The way Infinite Void works, the longer you get hit by it, the worse off you are. It destroyed part of Sukuna's brain physically, and the humans that got hit by it in Shibuya all had to wait 2 months for their brains to be fully recovered. The stronger you are though, the more information you can tank from the domain. As we see Gojo say, this level of Infinite Void would allow for the special grade cursed spirits to awaken in a few moments. Boros would be massively above the disaster curses and even above Sukuna's, who could tank around 9 seconds and only take a couple moments to recover. Even if Gojo has him in there for say a full minute, I still think Boros would be fine. Gojo would try to kill Boros while he's in the domain, but he most likely wouldn't be able to hurt Boros, although if he could hurt him with either purple or with blue, using it to crush Boros' body with the gravity, then he could kill him because Boros wouldn't be able to think to heal himself. Although in that situation, it is unlikely since Boros' durability will just scale above any of Gojo's attacks. If you think Gojo's domain could destroy Boros' brain mentally to where he can't even think afterwards, then that would be Gojo's only win con. But if you think that Infinite Void would only destroy his brain physically, then there's nothing Gojo could do to put down Boros for good, especially with the speed and stat difference and Boros' healing factor. The only way I see Gojo winning is if Boros is in Gojo's domain for a very long time, and his domain destroys Boros' mental thinking capabilities so bad that Boros won't even be able to think to heal himself. But in my opinion, it's just way more likely that Boros will win the fight, since Boros is just simply too fast and strong for Gojo to do anything else. With that being said, thank you guys for watching the video. If you haven't already, subscribe and like for more content, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.